At that moment, the light bulb went off. I said, you know what? I go, this is my moment. So I'm going to go home, pad to paper, literally drew up a business plan up till like 2, 3 in the morning. I was like, I'm putting this together. And I really believed wholeheartedly. As I was writing it, I was like, this is so important. This is going to be a movement. This is going to be something that is so special. I believed in it with every ounce of my soul. Then everything just started falling apart. So I was going to do whatever I had to do.
Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness.
Bobby Masha is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
So this founder and CEO opened up his 19th location last week. He loves being a father to his 3 kids. He actually gets emotional when he talks about his family, which I can't wait to hear. He coaches 7th and 8th grade Livingston football team, which his son plays on the team. And we just found we have a common connection that he is a coach against. And, I think every once in a while as business owners, we have to kind of look at ourselves in the mirror and push ourselves and remind ourselves that we've got to pull our big boy pants up or big girl pants up and get moving and just grind away. This guy looks in the mirror and he goes, come on, let's go. You're Joey fucking Cioffi. So I welcome to the podcast today, my buddy, Joey Cioffi. Welcome.
Thank you, Bobby.
So it's funny because I look at your background and this podcast I really wanted to put together because I think that the general public, and we just had a conversation a little bit earlier about somebody that we both mutually know, and it was like, oh, you own a salad house, you're so rich, you have 19, oh, you just opened up, blah, 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 blah. And people think it's so great. And they fail to see the blood, sweat, tears, the failures that we go through that most of us look as learning opportunities, but how much it takes to get from where we were to where we are. They only see where we are.
Sure.
Right. I look at your story and it's eerily similar somewhat to mine. I think everybody thinks that they're unique until they start meeting a couple people. You're not the first person that I've met like this, but apparently there are more people who have come from a family business, have kind of gone out on their own and have made it happen. I'd love to hear a little bit about where you're from. I love the immigrant family, coming over, the dynamic between you and the family and how you ended up going off on your own, and then what your endeavor is and what you're working on now. And let's kind of make it an open conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it around the head. I mean, in my passion, my driver is always thinking about my parents coming over here at 18 years old, 11 days at sea, not knowing the language, coming here thinking the streets are paved in gold and Newark is not paved in gold. And when they got there and they were just like, oh my God, this is like, it was a reality, it was a reality check when they got there and they worked in a factory. They questioned it over and over again. They're like, we came here to chase the American dream and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Like, it's
so
just
what year was that? They were 18.
1957.
So 57. Okay.
Yeah. They literally were working 7 days a week in a factory. My father used to always complain. He had a foreman that was so mean. He goes, that guy used to yell at me every day. I'm like, bye-bye. He met this pizzeria owner and the guy was like, hey, Tony, let me show you how to make some pies. Come help me out on the weekend. So my father started working, on the weekends, like helping him out. My father honestly would have just worked for a couple free pies. Like he was just learning. And at the end of the weekend, the guy would give him like $25 or something like that. Now my dad would make $25 the entire week working at the factory. Yeah. And he's like, this is crazy. It's amazing that I'm able to make $25 for 2 days. And, I'm busting my ass for the entire week, right, with this mean foreman yelling at me. So, fast forward, I try and, plow through it, but like he ended up striking a deal, took over the business, the building, and
this was in Newark.
This was in Newark, yeah. And he was such a hustler. The mindset, him and my mother, was unbelievable. They literally had a telephone wire. They kept the ovens on all night long, and they had a telephone wire that would go up to their bedroom. And if the phone call, it was like 2 a.m., somebody was drunk and they wanted some pizza, my father would get the phone call, go downstairs, make the pie, get in his car and deliver it.
Oh my God.
Like that was the mindset. Like he was just so hungry for success and he just grinded, man. It's just my inspiration. I mean, just that, was just like, that's the little part of it. But then he just, continued to grow the business, continued to really, bust his ass. And then, man, he's my inspiration. My parents are really, so that's my driver.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, then fast forward, he ended up, being successful, business, and his actual plan was to make some money and go back to Italy and, buy a building and, start a business. So that's what he did. He saved up some money, a couple $100,000, and it was like, okay, now my brother and sister who were like 14 and 15 years older than me, it was in the early 70s. They ended up going back to Italy, went there, bought a building. He opened up a bar downstairs. It was called Bar Dolito with a beautiful, like American dollar, symbolizing like the prodigal son, like coming back to Italy. Look at this, like Tony came back.
Yeah.
And and things were good. And my brother and sister were miserable because they were like 12, 11 years old, and they knew Italian, but they didn't. They had to go to school, and they were getting picked on. Immigrant Americans. So it was interesting because they were miserable. My parents were like, they were happy because they felt a sense of pride. But then something happened. It was like, I don't know exactly, the story gets a little muddled, but like my father got a new car and somebody called him up and was like, listen, he goes, you look out your window. My father looks out his window, the guy jumps in the car, takes his car. He goes, you see how quickly we took that car? We could take your kids. We could take your kids that quick too if you don't give us X amount every month. My father's like, wait a minute, what is this?
That's the difference between being in America and being somewhere else.
Yeah. And he was just like, wait a minute. He goes, like in his mind is like, that's not what I want. He has a capitalist mindset. Like he wants to make money that he deserves and keep on earning and going after it. And so he made the choice to go back. So he basically re-immigrated back into America and kind of had to start all over again. It took a loss. It was rough, but he ended up, getting back to the grind. Opened up, I think his first place when he came back was in Rahway. And then he ended up opening up Cioffi's in Union, which is still there. Mm-hmm. And he was there with my uncle Carmen. They had a nice business, but he kind of wanted to pull away from the actual restaurant sit down thing. He wanted to do fast casual. He had the foresight to, he wanted people in and out. So in 1981, he ended up opening up Cioffi's Deli in Springfield, still there. That was kind of the business that I was born into. I was born in 77, but that was the business that, I'd known all my life, basically, and I always tell people, and I think I told Lou, I said, at 12 years old, I, was like, I want to be around my dad and my brother. My brother is 14 years older than me. He was running the store, him and my dad. I want to show him I can answer the phone and ring up customers and do stuff like sweep the floors. I remember picking up cigarette butts, and that was one of my jobs early on, like picking up cigarette butts and gum in the parking lot. So since then, till now, I've been working in the restaurant industry. I'll tell you what, it was the greatest education that I ever got in my life. I was this chubby, shy kid. It was a byproduct of my mother just feeding me constantly. Still, I mean, the other day after a football game, I'm like, Mom, can you bring over some food? She brings over if I show you how much food was brought to my house just for me and my 3 kids and my wife, it was just insane. But and
Southern Italian with the Southern Italian, so it's you're getting the trim on a
guilted, and you're getting guilted into it. You're getting so guilted into it. Like, come on, Joey, please, I made it so. I'm like, all right, Ma, all right,
special for you. You can't leave it here.
It's so damn good. I'm like, God. So yeah, just being in the business. I mean, I was like this shy kid, and it just forced you to be in front of people and to communicate and to talk to people. And then, you learn the ins and outs of the business. Like I was just watching my father, I'm watching my brother, 2 guys that are just awesome at what they do and interacting with people. Like my brother, Jerry, who still, runs a store. He is like a game show host. Like you walk into Cioffi's and it's like, hey, what's going on? And it's literally like you feel like your family, and that goes such a long way. The customer service aspect of it, of course, the quality and and consistency. But I learned so much from them. So it was just great to be there. I mean, I was miserable at the time. Don't get me wrong. I hated it.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
story.
Oh, dude, I was miserable. Every time summer would come along, I'm like everyone's like, yeah, summer, we're going, great adventure. We're going down the shore. I'm like, fuck. I go to work like every, but.
My uncle was picking me up at 7:00. I was jumping in the truck and off we went.
And you get it.
I get it, man. I get it.
It was really rough.
And, similar to what, how you kind of described it. I usually describe more my adult experience working with my family as being an indentured servant. You're like, no. From seventh grade on, I was an indentured servant.
Yeah, I know. Here's my dad. I'm like, Baba, I'm gonna get paid. Everyone. He goes, when you're 17, you're gonna get a car. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, good. I'm good. And he did. He got me. I got
what
a
car
nice
did you
Jeep.
get?
I got a Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, there you go.
It was nice. It was limited. It was nice. It was a nice vehicle. But I ended up going to college, Monmouth University. I excelled in football. And I played football at Monmouth University, studied finance, graduated with a finance degree. And it was a proud moment. I was the first person in our family to graduate college. So it was like a nice moment, for my parents, they were so proud, their son went to college.
First generation, he's over here.
Yeah, it was really, it was special. But, then I ended up taking a job at Merrill Lynch. So like, that was my moment of like, oh, finally I'm getting out of the business. I'm out. Oh my God, I don't have to work weekends anymore. Until like the second weekend of me working at Merrill Lynch, and they're like, Joey, we got a catering outside. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, all right, let me come back. So, I worked at Merrill. I was, and I worked in a Wayne branch and sometimes in Jersey City. I got my Series 7. I liked it. I didn't love it. I have this, I guess I get it from my mother, like, like kind of guilt, like feeling like, guilt, like I'm nervous about, investing other people's money because like you lose money. Funny story, my father, I'll never forget, he invested in, I got him to invest in Knight Securities. I don't know if you remember. It was like,
no, I remember.
And when I got into the business, it was a really bad time.
It was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. It was hot.
It was hot in the late 90s, but then.
Yeah, well, guess when my father invested.
Yeah, well, you sound about right.
So all of a sudden, we I invested some money. I put his money in there, and then Knight took a beating, and he's like, Joey, how's my money doing? I'm like, I go, Dad, I go look at the market. He goes, everybody's losing money right now, and right away he goes, everybody die. I want to die. Everybody. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no. He goes, I don't give a shit about everybody's money. That's my money. I'm like, oh my God. Like, after Merrill, I ended up, I decided I was going to take a job in New York City. So through connections, I had a situation where I pretty much had the job, and the guy wanted to meet with me at the World Financial Center. It was on 9/11. And the guy asked me, he says, do you want to come in at like 8, have a little breakfast with me, or you want to come like closer to like 11:30, 12? And I'm in my early 20s. I'm like, I'm not waking up at 5 in the morning to, get on the train. I'm not
I got a couple meetings in the morning. Why don't I can clear up my afternoon?
So I'll never forget, man, that moment where I was like, put my tie on, and I'm looking in the mirror. My brother's blowing my phone up. He's like, Joey, he goes, you in the city? I'm like, no. He goes, oh, some idiot. At the time we thought it was an accident.
Yeah.
He's like, somebody had crashed a plane into the towers. He goes, yeah, an accident. He goes, I don't know if you should go. And I'm like, oh. And then all of a sudden we turn it on. And that's when, unfortunately, everything just unraveled.
It was.
And I took that as like, you know what? It was kind of an omen. And I didn't really love the business. And I just was like, I love the food business. I love making people smile through their stomach. I love the whole intimate, aspect.
You have to love the food business if you're in the food business.
I love the food business.
You have to love it.
Yeah. I just love seeing people's reactions or hearing people talk about how much they've impacted. Like I walked in here and was it Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's just like, oh my God, I love your place. I grew up in your sandwich. Like I love Cioffi. So like hearing that was just like, oh, like that's so cool. Like, that we make an impact on generations, which is so dope. Like that's like such a cool thing.
My grandfather owned a deli in Leonia.
Okay.
And it burnt down in the fire and they never rebuilt it. But I still run into older people who are like, no relation to Masha Deli in Leonia. I'm like, yeah, I love that place. Awesome. Your grandmother used to cook the sauce in the back.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It's deep, man. And you know what? Food resonates, man. Food is, it's obviously a big part of our culture, but it's part of any culture, really. Yeah. As I was there, I went back into the family business, and with my brother, we kind of modernized the business, like, POS, like my brother, again, having, he's 14 years older than me, like, I kind of wanted to make things, like a little bit, put a POS system, maybe put a little bit more healthier
So it's
options.
almost like you had to deal with two different generations. You had to deal with your father's generation, your brother's generation, you always being the newer generation. That must have been an interesting dynamic. No?
It was, but it had its pluses and its minuses. My brother was like, listen, he was part of the reason why I succeeded in athletics. He was my biggest driver because my father didn't know from it. But then again, my dad was like super strict. My brother would have to like soften it up a little bit, but my brother was strict too. He's like kind of old school in his ways as well. But it was like having a younger dad and an older dad at the same time. But so special. It was like, it's special. It really is. And the relationship we still have today is incredible. But being there and like, modernizing business, like getting the catering, working side by side with him was great. But at the same time, I just felt there was, again, a ceiling, sort of like my father when he went back to Italy. Like, it's like there was a ceiling and I wanted to break through that ceiling. My brother had his own successes with real estate. I dabbled with that. I took some money on Wall Street. I bought a few multifamily homes, but I'm like, again, I'm too nice. Like people will sell me a story on being late with rent. And I'm just like, oh, I feel bad. Their kid's sick. They're not. And it's like, it wasn't for me. It's not for everybody. He's incredible. He kicks ass with that. That just wasn't for me. So I always heard my wife talking about, there's no chopped salads in the area. We live in Livingston. She's like, oh my God, in New York City, there's all these chopped salad places. I go to this one place, it's gross. They charge you $20. They charge you extra to chop the things and it's not fresh. Da, da, da. So it was like late 2010 and I was at a traffic light in Millburn and I looked at this vacant sign, like it said like a vacant sign and said for lease. It was a for lease sign. And right at that moment, the light bulb went off. I said, you know what? I go, this is my moment. I go, this is I'm going to go home, pad to paper, literally drew up a business plan up till like 2, 3 in the morning. And, had some funny names early on. Like I was afraid to walk away from the Italian thing. So like a casa d'insalata, I was like it was like the Tuscan garden. Like it was just horrible. I was just like, cause I was so afraid to like, my comfort zone, my wheelhouse was Italian food and, Italian culture. And like kind of going into that direction was like, it was a little scary. But
I love those moments of inspiration where it's like, I'm not stopping until I have all my ideas.
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm putting this together and I really believed wholeheartedly, as I was writing it, I was like, this is so important. This is going to be a movement. This is going to be something that is so special. I believed in it with every ounce of my soul.
So where were you at the moment in terms of with the family business and your position, your role with that, and looking at the prospective salad house? Did you think that your family was going to be involved? Did you think that this was going to be your side thing? What was your mindset when you started to put this all together?
I obviously, they're my counsel. I went up to them and it's funny. They have that old school mentality, and it's nothing wrong with that, and it's just the way it is. Like, you have to be at the store. There's 2 keys, one for me, one for you. Nobody else has a key. I wanted to break free from that. A la Dunkin' Donuts and, a la, other franchise models where it's like, like put a systematic, a system in place. My
dad used to say, while I'm sleeping, the registers are still ringing and I know I'm making money. This is the business I love.
Yes, that's it. That's it. That's beautiful. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted to put a system in place. I wanted to instill trust in people, and that's, that was kind of the brainchild as well. Like I kind of wanted to be able to scale my business. I knew I couldn't do it with Cioffi's. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just because it's so special. It's like a place that's just like, you can't.
Like you said, there's a ceiling to it because it's as much as you can put into it. And or you have kids and then you bring them in as indentured servants and they have to take it up. Where's the freedom? There is no freedom. You're tied to the business.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like, that was an important driver in this as well. Obviously I believed in what, the vision of it, but at the same time, I wanted to make something that was scalable that, but listen, it was, and my mother, I'll never forget the first salad that I chopped up and I go, Mom, I'm going to do this. She goes, in Italian, she goes, what is this? This look like a dog food. She goes, who's going to eat a salad like this? She goes, that's a disgust. I'm like, oh my God. I go, Mom.
White people in Hanover.
I go, Mom. I go, no. And she goes, no. And she goes, you got to make it the tomatoes kind of nice. So you got to come. I'm like, Ma, I go, you don't understand. I go, this works. It works. It works. In New York City, I go, there's a reason why. And she was just, she was a doubter. And I always bust her chops all the time. Like, out to this day, I'm just like, Ma, you remember you used to tell me? She goes, shut up. She goes, my dad and my brother, they were, listen, super supportive. And so like, this is your dream, go chase it. And they always knew that I had these grand aspirations of like, I just wanted to go for it. Risk it. Like I was more of a risk taker. My brother's very conservative. My father's very conservative, and here I am just like, rolling the dice and saying like, I want to go for things because I believe in myself.
What do you think, what part of you or what part of your experience or what do you think made you more the risk taker coming from a successful family business and two male figures that you idolize, look up to? They're more conservative. What broke the mold for you to feel like you could be a little bit more risky?
I'll be honest with you. It might sound corny, but long time ago, like I always like, try and, like I'm pretty spiritual and I kind of like, I meditate, I pray, and I'll never forget, I got this necklace and I really liked it. And I got it for fashion. I got it because I thought it looked pretty cool with a bracelet, this bracelet had a cross and this other thing. And it was like this little Nepalese thing. Like it was like really, really cool. And on the back of it, I still have it. It said fearlessness. And I was like, that's me. I go, that's me. I go, I have a competitive instinct, but at the same time, like I trust in myself. I trust in God. I trust, and I believe that, things are going to go right. I believe that I was going to play college football. I believe I was going to play 1AA football. I believe that I was going to, marry, believe it or not, my wife. She came into my store when she was like 13 years old. I really believe in just like having this positive mindset and this manifesting and really, just putting things out there.
It's interesting because we grew up in an era where that did sound corny, right?
Yeah,
was, you could not speak like that without getting your balls busted and being thrown into the corner as
I'll still get my ball busted for this.
You may, but the reality of it is your parents always tell you, or at least, the parents who look out for their kids always say, whatever you want to be, you can be. Mm-hmm. You just put your mind to it and you can be it. And the reality of it is life is about telling yourself that you can do it, because the minute you become a self-doubter, your ability to succeed in anything plummets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the more you think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you look for every way for it to work, not everything that was going wrong.
Sure.
And I think that helps just get through a lot of the hard times that we get through as business owners, because God knows it's not an easy upward path the whole way wrong.
Well, that's a good segue to where I was in a bad spot. And I listened and I love, like I listened to a bunch of your podcasts, and the darkest time of my life was when I deviated from that. When I went away from that. And it was because I tried another startup.
Is this a juice startup?
This is...
Or something different?
This was, it was called Cioffi's Boardwalk.
Oh, it was
a cheesesteak place.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So this was a moment where Salad House, got on his feet, started doing well, and I was, opening up a second location, and I was like, this is going to be great. And then, I was approached by some people and they're like, oh, we got this, like we should do a cheesesteak place, stuff like that. And I came up with this idea. I'm like, oh, this would be great. Like, I think we should take boardwalk food, make it sexier, bring it to the mainland. It's high quality. Like we had a king of the boardwalk steak. It was like a Kobe beef cheesesteak. And it was awesome.
Was that in Fairfield?
No,
Fairfield.
No, there's a Boardwalk Pizza there.
Boardwalk Pizza. Okay.
Yeah. This was in Union.
In Union. Okay.
Yeah, right on Route 22. And it was a money pit to start. I wasn't involved. This was a big mistake. I wasn't involved in the lease, finding the location or the lease. I was more of the creative
concept.
Yeah, it was a concept, creative. The marketing, how we're going to do this. Menu creation. Like that was my wheelhouse. That's where I was staying in. I was staying in that lane, and I trusted other people. An attorney, this other, to put this deal together. Oh, it's on 22. It's right in the middle. 70,000 cars. I'm like, and I didn't pay attention to it. I grew up there. You know what? In hindsight, it was a big mistake to not just really pay attention. Like, wait a minute, that's the biggest pain in the ass part a lot to get into, like that. You know what I mean? Like mothers, and that's going to be hard for people to navigate.
Did you feel at that point that you were, and I'd love to get your mindset, right? So at that point, were you like, I'm infallible, let's try another concept? At that point, were you like, hey, listen, me not being 100% involved in every component of 2 locations and the idea of scalability, this is just the next step, next level, and you just were jumping into, like, where obviously looking back, hindsight 2020, we're looking at the location, but where was your mindset?
Overconfidence.
Yeah.
I felt at that moment, I was like, look at this. Like, I could do this and I'm going to do that. And I would always like, be like, look, my plate is full, but put on more stuff on the plate. Man, I got 3 young kids, put more stuff on the plate. I mean, I'm still running Cioffi's, put more stuff on the plate. I felt like this sense of like, like this pride and this guy of like, like I could do it. I mean? Like, I'm going to show everybody. I mean? I showed you with the salad house. I'm going to show you with this too. I'm going to show you how, how I can do this. And, and that bit me in the ass, because as this was happening, as I was building out the second location in Morristown, getting that place, moving that business up in Millburn, the OG salad house in 2011, had this disastrous project called Complete Streets, where they were going to rip up the streets and put these, they're going to put these, I forget what they call these pylons, so you can make like street, fairs and stuff like that. So that's this idea that was going to take about 3 to 4 months or so. Well, it took.
They did that in Red Bank. They did it, I think, in Ridgewood too. Like that became like a hot concept in these high traffic towns.
Yeah, but I'm sure they did it a lot better, because this was the biggest shit show in the planet. I'm an easygoing, nice guy. Like I don't like it. I let things go. But I was at town council meetings, like literally pointing at it, like saying how it was done so poorly that it lasted about 13 to 14 months, and it ruined. So many people went out of business. Millburn Deli, just they were down like 25, 30%. And that's an institution.
Oh yeah.
We were down 40 to 50% at Salad House. So like now I'm dealing with this. I got this Cioffi's boardwalk that started off the first week. I thought it was going to be $1 million. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. And just, the numbers just kept on going down. And I started realizing the layout was bad. The rent was too high. Like all the bad thing I'm starting to figure out. I'm like, fuck, this is bad. I go, but my pride was like, I got to keep this thing going, and now, one business is hemorrhaging from the other. Then, I live in Livingston, New Jersey, my mortgage, and like everything just started just falling apart. And I'm just like I'm just in the middle of it.
You can't take something like that on the chin and walk away from it without feeling that you got beaten.
Yeah. And I was literally, I felt, the analogy I always use, I felt like I was in the middle of the ocean underwater with a straw. And I was just like, literally had my blood pressure, like my health started, it was a really scary time.
What was the biggest fear you had in that moment, or in those moments, in that period of time? Like what was going on in your world psychologically?
That I failed, and I was failing my family and my kids, and, and I love them with every ounce of my, being. And it's just, and I never wanted to, I wanted to set the bar of a lifestyle and providing, and never ever get below that. I didn't want to sell my house or my house go into foreclosure. So I was going to do whatever the fuck, excuse my language, but whatever the fuck I had to do, max out credit cards, like it was ugly, and it was scary. It was every day, like going to the bank. Imagine like every day checking your bank account. Oh my God, it's overdrawn. How am I going to get the money? I'm going to go here. It was
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, it was
just to stay. And at that point, did you feel like, I'm going to get through this and it's going to be okay? I just got to get through it. Or did you have a different sense of perspective at that time?
You know what? Again, hindsight 2020, I made the mistake of holding on too long to a failed business. Okay, this business had a great concept, amazing food, terrible location, terrible setup, terrible, just everything, like the whole operational side of it. Like it was just a train wreck on that side. But food wise and stuff like that, I might bring that thing back though. I always talk about one of my partners, Tim, and we always talk about like bringing Cioffi's boardwalk back.
It's like the reanimator.
Yeah, like I might do. I'll be honest with you, I might do it just because it was that good. Yeah, because I loved it. It was like a Jersey Shore concept, like bringing it to the mainland. Who doesn't love the Jersey Shore? I mean, it's that's what I always tell people.
Well, especially if you make it something that's more than just the novelty, right? Because the novelty, people kind of go like, oh, I had it, and maybe I'll have it again next week or next month or whenever I feel like having it. But if you make it something that where people can go, oh yeah, I can go there once, twice a week. It's it was
clean. It was like all like top quality stuff, so it was good. But yeah, you know what? The moment I was finally, I was just like, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's going on here? You're holding on to this business. You gotta let go. And it's just like, all right, we got a white flag. It's over. You know what I mean? Stop. It's costing you, like it was costing me so much money. Me and my partner was like it was just literally and it disrupted us, you know what I mean? As family, like we were like, it was my cousin and like, it was like really taking its toll on us. And at the moment we were just like,
did you guys get to the finger pointing moments was it just
natural?
Like,
it's natural. And it's always like, all right, I paid this. Did you pay that? And it's just like, we're just scraping and clawing and like, and he was going through it and I was going through it. And then the landlord, held us to this guarantee that I didn't even know about. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what? I'm like, I already lost, $300,000-$400,000. Now the landlord's coming after me for X amount of rents too. It's like that we were guaranteed that I didn't know. I called up the lawyer. I go, what the heck, what'd you do here? And he's just like, oh no. He goes, it's normal. You guys were going to be like, whatever. So, and I just was like, okay, you know what? And then, and then you saw it, I looked in the mirror and I was like, you're Joey fucking Cioffi. You fucking got to the, what I mean? Like, you made successes when people said you weren't going to do it. You're too small. You're not going to play college football. You're not big enough to play that position in school. You went and played 4 years. You know what I mean? Your salad house is not going to do well. You got to be there every day. You can't, nobody's going to eat the chops out now, and I did that. And I pushed through everybody doubting and saying, no, you can't. And I always was like, and at this moment, I'm like, I know what I have at the salad house. I know what I have there. I believe in it with every ounce of my soul. It's proving out in Millburn. Arguably, that's one of the toughest clienteles I'd say in America. And then Morristown, and luckily enough, my partner Jerry, he was a longtime customer, Cioffi's. He got into a paddleboard accident where he would come to Deli like 3-4 times a week. And after a while, he goes, I can't work out. He goes, I got to eat lighter. I can't eat a prosciutto mozzarella sandwich. So I want to eat a little something a little healthier. So what's your salad place again? He goes, he was just like, he became such a big fan. And he said to me, he goes, if you ever scale this or if you want to like franchise, stuff like that, I will come aboard. You know what I mean? My brother wants to make a career pivot. Me and my brother will come on. I mean, I'll be a part of the franchisor and we could get going. So we struck a deal. And there was like a lot of heavy lifting in the beginning because listen, I came from a mom and pop's background. He's a hedge fund guy and it was a perfect yin and yang, but it was definitely in the beginning was like a little startling, like, oh shit. Like,
different approach.
Yeah. Completely
different than what you're used to. So I just want to take a couple steps back real quick because, I think I told you our stories are oddly in parallel, right? I went to my family had Dunkin' Donuts. I grew up, the last thing I wanted to do was get involved in the family business. I was interning for Merrill Lynch. I got offered a job. And my dad said, I didn't send you to Lehigh to be a stockbroker. Be a fucking investment banker like you want to be. Got into Wall Street. I was supposed to be at a meeting in the towers, but I got called to a meeting out in Boston. And we had to reschedule it because Monday we were in Boston. We said, we'll fly back Tuesday morning instead of Monday night to try to make this meeting. Missed the fucking World Trade Center, okay?
Wow.
Got involved in the family business. And after 9 years, I said, this is always, and it was because of family. It wasn't because of, it was my mom and my dad got open heart surgery in 18 months of one another. And I ended up getting talked into going into the one thing I didn't want to do. Ended up there. Left to do my own passion, right? You left for Salad House. I wanted to get back into finance. And I had my world collapse similar to yours, right? I go from having a steady income to now you're on your own. You've got to kind of put this all together and you don't want to drop your lifestyle. You've got kids. And how am I robbing from Peter to pay Paul? Because I did not. I was an indentured servant as I worked for my father, like I said. Mm-hmm. What got me through, and I love my wife was one of the major components because she said to me, just do it, we'll figure it out. But as we were doing it and figuring it out, my mother was a huge component because my mother told me, don't forget who you are. You can do it. If I didn't have those two components or those two variables in my life at that moment, I don't know where I would have been.
Wow.
Was there someone, because you said everybody was naysayers, was there somebody that helped you, or did you just have to muscle through it on your own?
No, I mean, listen, the support that I have, my foundation, is just so incredible. I'm blessed beyond belief, because yeah, they might have, like, my mom, questioned, but my mom would always believe in me. Always. My sister, she's 15 years older than me, Sister Lena. She is the kindest, sweetest, most amazing human being. And she is my number. I was trying not to, but she's always been like my rock. And then, it was my father and brother, my idols, that always, pushed me through. And they said, they believed in me too. And my brother picked up the slack at Cioffi's. I'm still partner there. I'm still there. And he still picks up the slack now as I'm growing. And then, of course, my wife, it could have been easy for her to just pivot. It could have been easy for her to be like, I can't deal with this stress anymore. The struggle. Chasing the dream. It's going to be national. It's going to be national. It's going to be a franchise. We're going to open up so many locations. We're going to, hearing that over and over again. It's like, a normal person would just, at some point be like, it's not happening. But she believed in me. She believed in
because it becomes so disruptive to your relationship, to your lifestyle, to her support, right? You have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. It's tough when that's why if I didn't have my mother, because my wife was strong as she was, as much as she supported me, I also knew the extra weight that she was taking on at home with the kids. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be a cheerleader when you're in the shit dealing with the same fucking things that your husband's dealing with and being like, you can still do it, honey. Yeah. So having that external, and my sisters are 12 and 15 years younger than me. So I'm on the other pendulum, on the other side of the pendulum from you. But it's fucking crazy, man. Yeah. It's crazy when you're going through those times.
Yeah. It's worth noting also, I have in-laws, and usually people, they always joke about their in-laws. And I have, Dr. Luciani and Ruth Luciani, like they are another source of strength for me, because they believed in me too. And
so now you tie in, you were saying your partner wanted to make a pivot. His brother wanted to make a pivot. You're on Salad House number 2. Boardwalk is gone. Mm-hmm. You've released that weight. Mm-hmm. You cut that balloon. It flew away. Mm-hmm. Partners at Cioffi's. Your brother's picking up some of the slack. Let's pick up from there.
At that point, I had, one of the most important parts of Salad House is Jared Bravo. He's somebody that came aboard. I had a little pizzeria in Hoboken. That was my first,
Which pizzeria?
It's called Balbo's Pizzeria. I'll never forget. Me and my best friend Mike were partners with the pizzeria, and in comes this kid, 19 years old. He got this tattoo on his arm, Veritas. I'll never forget. He walks in, but he had this glow about him. He had this moxie.
Energy, yeah.
He had this, and it's just, he walked in the place, and I'm just like, I whispered at Mike, I go, we're hiring this guy. I'm going to make this guy manager. I'm going to make this guy. He goes, he has a thick Jersey City. He goes, what the fuck? He didn't fucking open his mouth. What the fuck? He goes, what the, he goes, and look at that fucking tattoo. I'm like, oh, he's good. But what do you call it? So he walks in, and he's talking, and we hit it off, and I put him in, and I thrusted him into such an important role. And he really, he had some experience. He actually worked in LBA, he worked in restaurants and stuff, but he was young, wet behind the ears, and he made a lot of mistakes, but I always stood by him. You know what I mean? Like there was times where, listen, he was young in his 20s. He didn't get to experience the college stupid shit that I did when I was in college and stuff like that. Like this was his early time. And, so like I always had that in the back of my mind. I'm like, think about what you did at Monmouth and like running around and doing stupid, it's like, he's going through that now. You know what I mean? So if he was late and pick up his phone, and, we always joke with him, like totally MIA for 3 days, like I know where he is. But he came aboard in Salad House, the first Salad House, and he became instantly my manager, and ran the show. Then we opened up Morristown, and Jared was was so important in that, and so he was an important piece to this. And it just, the only reason I'm saying to tie it in with Jerry was because, he was my guy that I brought in. And Jerry, when he came aboard, he's like, listen, I have this Tim Banos, who is trying to give you the four horsemen so you understand.
I love it.
I'm putting it all together. So he's like, I got this guy, Tim, he's a teacher. He wants to break free from being a teacher. And, he has high aspirations. He's very, very smart. He's got some good insight. And, I want to introduce you. I met him. I'm like, yeah, the guy's sharp. I'm like, yeah, bring him aboard. So he came aboard, and then Jared obviously was a big part because he was like, he ran the store. He knows more about Salad House than Oliver. Like he knows everything. He's our chief operating officer. So the four of us literally were in this office above the Salad House. It was like, it's funny. You walk in upstairs and it was like a time warp. It's like the 1920s. And then you walk into our office and like Jerry made it like really like nice, like your office here, like really sharp. But, we were in there literally chopping wood and trying to figure out like how to make this profitable. Cutting the menu by 30%. Like figuring out the cost of goods. And it was tough because it was like, Jared and I created this thing, like Jared was a part of like, the inception of it all. And then Tim and Jerry are here and they're like, wait, yeah, it's, like my mindset was like, all right, I have more money in my pocket than I did at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, it's a successful store.
And they wanted KPIs.
Yeah. And they exactly. So I'm like,
you're like, I'm making more money. Yeah, but what are the KPIs?
I know. So I'm just like, dude, I'm like, and it was tough sledding. I'll be honest with you. We did sell, a couple franchises in the interim as we were really getting it going. But it was incredible. He opened up Montclair and Sea Caucus. So, I got rid of the baby, but like at the same time, he was able to open up multiple locations. So, corporate team now that just, our infrastructure was so strong that it was prepared for growth way before we hit that growth.
Were you mindset of like mom and pop structure and Jerry coming in, did he help corporatize it or did you already have that in place? And that was more of a refinement that just happened with, kind of KPIs, making sure profitability was on mark and everything like that. Like what was the dynamic and the shift when you two came together? You said yin and yang, right? How did that come together?
Well, no, it was definitely, I knew what I knew and that was my lane, And he knew what he knew. And it was like, and again, it was eye opening. It was just like, oh wow. Like we need to do this. If we're, people buying franchise and they're investing, let's say $500,000 into a location, we got to make sure that they have, they're going to be profitable and we have, everything ironed out. And that was, so I really didn't know from it. And again, I don't know. Listen, I'm not, again, like in my, when we're in our meetings, I never ever, like I rely on Tim for branding, Jared for the technology stack, Jerry for the finance, our CFO, Francesco, like, he's the one that's putting down, like our P&Ls and, it's like, I distribute the ball and it's really worked because we really have such a great team. That's also fun too. Like we do a lot of group outings and, go to like, MMA fights or like Zach Bryan, like, like we just like, we literally have like such a fun atmosphere. Like I'm a ball, like, like I love like playing jokes and like, we're always like, just, it's like lighthearted. You walk into the room, we actually, somebody that was curating the other day, different dressings for us. Like we're looking to get into some other dressings and the guy came in and he's, and he's used to like, meeting with some of these bigger companies like, Chopped or Sweet Green or some of these other, and he goes, and I was like breaking his chops and we're like laughing and stuff like that. He goes, this is so refreshing, man. He goes, I walk into these rooms and I'm like, I'm nervous and everything's tight and everyone's like, all, like trying to get, he goes, and you're just busting my balls and just like having a good time and just enjoying life. And I'm like, what, that's my mindset too in life, just smiling and laughing.
That's
and just
exactly what you said about the family business. When people walk into and your brother's like, oh, come on in. I'm going to serve you, whatever you need. Go on.
It's true, man.
So when you think about the kids and you think about the business, have they expressed any interest? Is that in any bit of your mindset? What's kind of your mentality with your business and then your kids?
It's funny you ask that. I'm kind of torn in a sense where I don't, I'm trying to see where the future, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but I always talk about AI, and I talk about how AI is going to totally disrupt a lot of different industries. And luckily, I believe the Salad House franchise, and I believe in our brand, is not going to really be disrupted. You're always going to have to go a place, to eat, fast casual and stuff like that. Sweet Green is trying to automate actual employees and stuff like, where like you don't need employees. I would never want to do that because I've seen too many families benefit and grow with my business. And we love to grow within. Like Jared's a perfect example. Matt Tremaine, one of my GMs, is in Morristown. He's like now becoming a part of the corporate team, and seeing his daughter being born and watching kids like, go through college and like, that component is so important. So like I'm going off track, but like AI might be a disruptor. So like in my mind, I'm like, maybe they should consider and depending on where we are at that point. My middle daughter, she wants to be an anesthesiologist. She's very smart. She got into super like a pretty awesome private school.
That's
she's a freshman there. Yeah. And she's like very headstrong on that. She wants to be an anesthesiologist. I'm like, beautiful. Like, that's a good job. But yeah, like, listen, I want them to understand the business, but I will never thrust them into something that they're not interested in.
Now, do they spend any time? Because I and I've spoken to a bunch of people about, kids and business, and you and I have experienced something when we were kids, right? Mm-hmm. We worked in the family business. We weren't over levered in our time and over scheduled and moving from this sport to this sport in the same night, or a game from here to here, plus homework, plus this, plus that. My kids are so over scheduled that they don't even have the experience. Like I used to take, I tell a story all the time. I used to take my a case of water, a case of soda, whatever snacks I could. And I'd go down to the local golf course. I'd park on the 7th hole and I'd look for golf balls and I'd sell the golfers back their golf balls and the soda. And then I'd go and I'd use that money to go buy more and I would just double down.
Love that.
My kids don't have that opportunity. They don't even have that mindset.
No.
They're too busy thinking about like, oh, I got to go to baseball. I got to go to basketball. Oh, I got to go to, to the tutor. I got to go to, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Are you in the same world?
Yeah, man. How old are your kids?
My oldest guy is 15, is a freshman. My middle guy is 13. He's in 8th grade. And the baby girl is 9. She's in 3rd grade.
Wow. Beautiful. All right. You spread them out a little bit more.
So where do you see this thing going in the, in the not so distant future? If you look out 24 months, what does Salad House look like? What does your world look like? What's the pathway for you?
We still have another 10, or I think roughly around 10 or 11. We're already sold but not open. Like we have, we'll probably get, thrust over 30 locations in the near future. But, we're expanding to Virginia. We just sold a territory in Virginia where we're looking to open up anywhere from 5 to 10 out there. We just had a discovery day with somebody out of Maryland that she's looking to do 3 to 5 locations in Maryland. And, and I really, we've been strategic with the slow growth, but at this point, like I said, we're very confident in our team. We're very confident in obviously in our product and what we're able to do. And, I've always, again, from inception, I believe that this is a national brand. People think I'm crazy. I think it's a global brand. I think, I can't see why Subway could do well in England or something like that. And we couldn't, jump over the pond. They pull the harnesses back on me a lot in the office, but at the same time, I think now's a point where they're like, "Go, Joe, let's go."
It sounds like that's your role, though. The vision, the driver, and you have to have a few people that kind of say, "All right, well, have we thought this through? Where are we going with it?" But if you're not pushing the ball forward, then who's going to do it? Right?
Yeah. Listen, and again, I believe wholeheartedly in our brand because we are so different than any of our competitors. We have. We are in our own lane because when I started this business, it was specifically to be a salad concept in the suburbs. Okay. That kind of was for my family, my wife. I'm sure you get this. What are we getting for lunch? What are we getting for dinner? I want a salad. Oh, the kids want chicken fingers. Oh, I want like a sandwich. Okay.
No, everybody always agrees in my household.
So Salad House does that, and I crafted the menu, the original menu, in the original place to kind of like solve that problem. I solved that problem. Yet, we're doing healthy and we're bridging the gap in fast casual, where it's like I know that that. So now we do create your own salad now. My daughters, they started when they came into the business. When we started in Melbourne, they would have the chicken fingers. We have flatbread pizza, and they would eat that. And then all of a sudden they see my wife eating her salad and they're like, oh, Mommy, what's in there? Like, oh, I like egg whites. I like carrots. You mean I can make a salad? Next thing you know, they've transitioned from chicken fingers to eating healthy at a younger age. And like, that's kind of like, I hate to say the government's kind of, pushing that, that agenda to like, get healthier eating because of obesity, childhood obesity. But we are a good driver for that. And I've seen it, and I've seen it over and over again, and not only your home family, but your work family too. It's like, you cater a luncheon and it's like, what are we going to get? Pizza. Listen, okay, you still got to buy pizza, Cioffi's. Cater like chicken brunch. But it's like, you get like, healthy salads and wraps. And then, someone's like, I don't want to eat the salad, but you could get a crispy mother clucker, like a sandwich that's like, crispy chicken, you know what I mean? With bacon.
Love that.
It's like,
I want a crispy mother clucker. It's like cluck you chicken, except a little bit, you've taken the risque a little bit further.
So you know what? So that's why I believe like you get the people that'll eat like the sweet green and the healthy and the organic, and that's this small, and then you got the people that still go to the fast food, White Castles and the Burger Kings and the McDonald's.
Or they just want something a little naughty. Like,
well, that's what we have appetite. We have these crispy wontons, the buffalo poppers that are just like these wontons with buffalo chicken in them. We got these crispy cauliflower bites that are banging. People go bananas for them. Like literally, I was on Elvis Duran in the morning zoo. Like we were at Z100 and friends with those guys.
Hysterical.
And like, instead of talking about salad house, the guys, they're like, what are these? It's like crack. What are these things? There's a salad company and I'm eating these deep fried cauliflower bites. It's unbelievable. And they're just eating, and they literally, it was like a whole segment on the cauliflower. It's like, they literally went off about it. Like, this is amazing. And that's what the salad house is. It's balance, man. It's like I love the fact that my favorite optic when I walk into a salad house location and I see two friends having their salads, or one having a salad, one having a wrap, and then sharing a plate of fries, because we have fries too. Yeah. Like we're the only salad concept that has fries in the world. Put it out there. So it's like, it's like life's about balance, and that's what we do, and we do it well. And I really believe that we could go into any community and transition people, and like making people go right into the middle, and and really, be the future of fast casual. I really believe in it.
That's fucking awesome. I love it. What I find so interesting, I was excited to do this podcast, right? I was excited to start the podcast in general. I was excited to sit down with you. I love hearing people who are passionate and who are taking the next step, and the creativity that you have. Yeah. I commend you, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I commend you too, man.
But if you were to, and since you're an emotional guy, I'm going to kind of try to get into an emotional space.
Boy. Here we go.
Let's say you and your wife decided that you were going to do a project, and the project was you have to leave a message to your children, and you're only allowed to leave them 3 pieces of advice, stories, whatever's most valuable that you think you want them to hear, but there's only allowed to be 3. What would those 3 values, stories, pointers, life experiences, what would they be?
Well, the first one is to always laugh. Just laugh. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. You gotta enjoy life. You got one ride. It's one time. You gotta laugh. Second one, you gotta love. You gotta love your family, love your people, love every, anybody that's made an impact on you, friends, family. And love deeply, love, have empathy, have compassion. That's not happening anymore. It's like, and having that as part of your foundation. And the last thing is, my father says this all the time, and it's just been kind of like cemented in my mindset, is to not wait for the apple to fall in your mouth. Don't sit underneath the tree with the apple.
Well, I like that.
You're just waiting for the apple. Go up that fucking tree and get it. Go up that fucking tree and get that apple.
I love that. That's really good. How do people find you if they're looking for you? How do we tell our listeners, viewers, how do they find you?
We have the Salad House on Instagram. Salad House. Every location has their own Facebook, but so we're on Instagram, TikTok. I can't get into the TikTok thing yet. I try, but Instagram, I'm good.
it's too sensory overload.
Yeah, it is. And we're on just Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And
all right, we'll throw it all on in the messages and the notes, so this way people can kind of click onto it. And you're accepting new franchisees.
Yeah, man. Listen, we looking in Florida. There's so much tremendous opportunity across. Jersey's pretty much. I mean, we have a couple pockets left in New Jersey, but Long Island is a hotbed that we're targeting. We're targeting up the coast of Connecticut, Massachusetts. Maryland's already. I think it's pretty much going to be spoken for. Virginia, shooting down to the Carolinas. We kind of wanted to be strategic in opening up on the East Coast and kind of go down to Florida, but at the same time,
it's got to be easier for a distribution channel and for just communications, and you've got pockets of the country that are different, ethnically and different just culturally. So that's smart.
Sure, and brand recognition too. Most people they kind of stay on this thing on the coast. But we do have, we do have inquiries out West Coast, and but we're going to be smart about it. But at the same time, it is a very good opportunity because we have a 1.7 AUV, average unit volume of 1.7, and we plowed through the pandemic, and I feel as though there's never going to be a time where your doctor's going to say, you shouldn't go to Salad House.
well, listen, go to Salad House, but maybe you shouldn't get the deep fried tongs.
True. Although I do think some husbands, like when they use their credit card, they lie. They'll be like, I went to Salad House today, something like that. Meanwhile, they had the crispy chicken sandwich with fries. Because I used to have a guy real quick.
I could hear you getting fatter. You definitely did not go to Salad House for just a salad.
Quick story, real quick. I know we're wrapping up, but it just reminded me of this funny story, at Cioffi's. So now this guy Tony used to come in and get a pizza every Friday religiously. And he'd get the pizza, he'd order the pizza there, and he'd sit at the counter and he'd have 2 slices. And I'm like, that's weird. I go, it's like he's ordering pizza to go home and take to his family, yet he sits down here. So then after a while, I go, Tony, why don't you just call ahead and stuff like that? He goes, no. First of all, it's my quiet time. Second of all, my wife busts my balls about how many slices I have and how much weight I've gained. So I have a couple slices here and then at home I go. he has one. And he keeps on gaining weight.
Up his spot. I hope his wife isn't listening to this.
And the guy, he keeps on getting, the wife's like, I understand, you're eating only 1 slice of pizza, you're having some salad, you're still gaining weight. He's like, oh. Got bad metabolism.
You know what? I would be lying if I said that I never did that, where I ate and I was like, I'm just going to eat so this way my wife doesn't bust my balls on how much I know.
It's so funny.
Well, Joey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I think,
you.
I love your story. I love your passion. The Southern Italian passion really kind of comes through. And I look forward to building this relationship and watching you continue to succeed, because this is the kind of stuff that gets me excited. So
awesome.
I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. And I respect your journey, and I respect your success, and let's keep doing it.
All right. Joey Cioffi, baby. Let's wrap up this episode. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.